What's going on? I'm Kevin Kenny. Welcome to a brand new edition of the Build Series live here on a very sunny day, which is a nice change of pace here weather-wise in New York City. We've got a very special guest kicking off today. Royce defies is here. Now, Royce is actually hitting the road. He's got some tour dates coming up, but most immediately, this Friday, his brand new album, Book of Ryan, is going to be available everywhere. Royce defies.
Yo, what's up? Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me. Thank you.
Thanks for coming by, man.
Thank you for having me, man.
You know, it's funny. I was catching you on IG Live not too long ago.
Okay.
I don't know what airport it was, but you were on there for about like 30 minutes. It was a solid live.
I don't do that often.
No, it was a rare occasion. But I got a kick out of it because you were like, yo, these album rollouts, man, they go too long. I'm just dropping shit now. I'm not, you know what I mean? I'm not, these promo runs, they go on for too long. So are you sick of talking to guys like me yet?
No, I'm not sick of this. I like doing this. I like doing this.
Like,
I just don't like waiting. Yeah. I don't like waiting on people to hear the album. You know, like, because everything is just so like in your face now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, everything is so cutting edge. Like, the younger kids are just recording stuff and just putting it out immediately. No rollout, no anything, no wait time. The music is like super easy to get. So it's like I feel like I'm just letting people wait for.
Part of you envious of those young kids that can just kind of like drop it on SoundCloud? And
not envious. More admiration.
Yeah.
Admiration. I admire it. I admire the bravery.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
It's like no fear.
Yeah,
no
exactly.
Fear. Yeah.
But, I mean, it's funny, you know, these long promo runs. You did drop a great project, 2 weeks ago with Premiere on Prime 2?
Yeah, Prime 2 came out. Yeah, it was about a month ago. I'm excited about that as well. You know, I'm excited about that. We had a little bit of a rollout for that one. I'm just a vet, man. I'm a vet. I saw what Cole did. I'm inspired by what he did. You know, I spent a lot of time around him. And I had a few conversations with him on the phone. And then 2 seconds later, his album was out. I was like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, yeah. It's like the new music business, man. Yeah. But, I mean, he's amazing. I want to talk about Book of Ryan, but you bring up Cole. I mean, just yesterday, he became the first artist in the history of music, to debut 3 songs in the top 10 on the Billboard Hot 100.
Incredible.
Just incredible. Biggest open of 2018 with KOD. But what was it like working with him on that on the video for Boblo Boat? And he also directed that video.
Yeah, he directed the video. It was real cool, man, because me and Cole, we have like a really cool mutual respect for one another, you know, creatively and as people. And we sent ideas back and forth for like a long time. And it just kept feeling like, nah, that's not it. It's like in our minds, we're like competing with this bar that we set, and we don't really know exactly what the song is supposed to sound like. But whatever this first song is that Royce defies and J. Cole does, it's got to be that shit. You know what I'm saying? So it came together when he came to my studio. I built a studio in Detroit called Heaven Studios. It came together when we finally got in a room with each other. And that's very important with creativity. You know, like a lot of guys now, they're sending files back and forth via email. And sometimes the finished product often sounds like that. You know what I mean? I don't really want to get caught up in that, you know what I'm saying? Like, I've been in a lot of groups. I've been forced to have to send stuff back and forth. But I do Bad Meets Evil with Eminem. When we get in the room together, we do magic. I do Slaughterhouse with Joe Budden, Crooked Eye, and Joel Ortiz. When we're in the room together, it's magic. So when we finally came together at my studio and I played him the beat, it was like instantly. He thought of the hook, went in, didn't overthink it. You know, we just captured the moment. And, you know, the rest is history.
Yeah, something that couldn't be done over a computer.
Nah, it was probably, I'd say 6 to 8 months in the making.
Wow.
Yeah.
It takes time, man. Greatness takes time.
It's time consuming, but sometimes it happens fast. Sometimes it happens fast. You can't really put a gauge on it.
Well, I want to talk about this album, man. I want to dig into some tracks because I was lucky enough to be given an advanced copy of it. And I want to start at the top because it really opens with this sort of revelations, these revelations that you're having. And it's told within the context of this morning. On the opening track. And I was wondering if that's a symbolic morning or if there truly was a day where you woke up and just saw things more clearly.
Yeah, absolutely. Spiritual awakening. I had a spiritual awakening. I'm an alcoholic, so I stopped drinking almost 6 years ago. It'll be 6 years in September. And I woke up one day and I seen the world different. It was more than a moment of clarity. I've had moments of clarity in the past. This was like more spiritual. And I just decided I wanted to stop making bad decisions. I wanted to do right by my family. I no longer wanted to do the cliche industry things like publicly disrespect my wife or just all of the things that, you know, that are attached to rappers these days. I just decided I don't want to be one of those guys. So I decided to stop drinking, like all roads led to stopping drinking. So I stopped that. So basically what I'm saying in the beginning on the skit is I'm awoke now. I'm happy to be awake. This is the new me. This is the new creative me. This is the new me as a person. And here you go. Here's Book of Ryan. And that's where the intro came from.
You said Book of Ryan is what your first album should have sounded like.
Yeah, I mean, that's generally how it goes. I always compare it to Jay-Z's Reasonable Doubt. If you ever look at the way that he describes that album, he always says it took him his whole life leading up to that moment to write that album. That album was 20 whatever years in the making, however old he was at the time. I can't really remember, but that album was that many years in the making. This is that same thing for me, except the difference is I've had albums before this one, and I also felt like I needed to go through some of the things that I went through in the industry. Like I needed to get in the industry, become an alcoholic, start to take steps to overcome addiction, do the proper reflecting, start talking about the things that happened to me as a child and why I'm probably how I am now, good or bad.
Right.
And how can I use my platform to help other people in that position?
Definitely. You bring up Jay. I know Jay is never far from mind with you in terms of inspiration and things you draw from. Just
always
that, you revisit his work, for inspiration throughout your career. There's a song on here called "Strong Friend," which is an amazing song,
Thank you.
It addresses mental health in I think a really important way, and a point that I don't think isn't made often enough. Where we're if you're a good friend, you probably do check up on the people that are visibly going through things, that are telling you, verbally, I'm going through this stuff. But we rarely check up on the strong friend, the one that maybe the proverbial shoulder we cry on. Maybe talk to that shoulder. Maybe ask them if they're good. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Were you at all inspired by what Jay did on 444 when making a song like Strong Friend?
The whole album inspired me, but Strong Friend is something that I had before I heard 444. But that whole album inspired me. But yeah, Strong Friend is that was actually just inspired by me. It's very good that I'm cool with like really rich guys, a couple like really rich guys, so I'm able to gain perspective. I can talk to them on a really grassroots level, behind the scenes, behind the cameras. I can talk to Marshall about addiction. You know what I mean? Like I can talk to just really famous people about really regular things that affect us. And I've always been that guy in my family. Like I got a bigger brother, but my parents kind of treat me like I'm supposed to carry myself like the bigger brother. My big brother gets away with everything. He can do whatever he wants to do. And it's like, no, that's just Greg. That's just Greg. Don't worry about that. You're supposed to be the bigger man because you're Ryan. And I'm like, man, you know what I mean? Like, and then in his mind, everybody is always protecting me. You know what I mean? So it's an interesting dichotomy there. But it's just, I'm usually the guy who has to solve all the problems. I have to have a level head all the time. I'm usually the one answering the phone, listening to people vent, allowing them to vent. I'm usually the guy loaning people money. So, I try not to take advantage of my friends that are also the stronger friend. You know what I mean? Like I try to make sure that I always call and check on them. I try to make sure that I never ask them for anything unless I really, really need it. Like this album, I really, really needed an Eminem verse. So I had to ask him.
I want to talk about that Eminem verse, man. That Eminem verse, and this is no slight to his recent work at all.
Yeah.
But you might have the best M verse I've heard in quite some time on Caterpillar, man.
He did it with love. I mean, listen, man, like this is the first album that he's ever rapped on of mine, a solo album. Like he's done hooks. He's done hooks on solo album. This is the first. I've never asked him to rap on a solo album before. So this is the first time I asked him to rap. I really needed him to do it. I felt like it was time. We had already did the Bad Meets Evil album. I felt like the fans were really looking for us to rhyme. I did notice some of the scrutiny that he was under with his album, and I wanted to give him an opportunity to just go in. You know what I mean? And that's exactly what he did.
I mean, I don't want to talk too much about the scrutiny with Revival because I think it's well documented, and this album, Book of Ryan, is so good that I don't want to waste time talking about drama and BS. But I mean, that was a #1 album. You know what I mean? That I'm conflicted as a music fan because I thought the album was stellar. Obviously, America thought the album was stellar. I mean, what do you make of sort of the things that Joe Budden has said and things that people, critics have said about the album while it did tremendously well?
It's a huge platform that he's speaking from.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is his fault because he became so famous and he's done so many great things. He's competing with himself at this point. So sometimes when people listen to him, they want him to stop the world every single time. They want him to change the whole landscape. They want him to do the most incredible things. It's the same with like Kanye and Jay and all of these guys that just got to this level where they're just amazing creatively. So I think when you have a platform that big, it's very difficult to please everybody. And then we're also in a climate where everybody's very hypercritical, and you get to see everybody's comments in real time. You get to read all of the stuff. You know what I mean? I'm sure a lot of the albums got scrutinized, but this is just one of those ones where you can just kind of see everything right in your face.
Yeah.
So it's part of it.
You talk about M stopping the world, and much like you are transparent on Book of Ryan, M was very transparent when he was speaking with media leading up to the release of Revival late last year, and he was very outspoken. I believe it was an interview with Vulture about how he is forever chasing the energy of the Marshall Mathers LP, and how, and then I believe it was with Complex, he kind of followed up that thought, and he was saying that, you know, it's tough to capture that fire that you have as a young man in this industry, and especially when you have, you know, the world at your fingertips as that young man, you know, the anger and the passion, it's hard to recapture that.
It's impossible.
And I'm curious to ask you, though, because you were somebody that was around Marshall in 1999 and 2000 when the Marshall Mathers LP was kind of coming together, and you're somebody that still knows him very intimately to this day. First describe Marshall in 99, 2000, and then I'd love to get your perspective on how he's a different person today.
Yeah, just not as mature. Like, we don't think as much. That's why, like, when you got to get into this business, and I always preach this to my son. My son is 20, college student. He just dropped out of college. He wants to pursue music full time. And that's around the age that I think it's good to do it. I always use this analogy, like small baby walking around the house, sees the fireplace, sees the fire. Small baby looks at the fire, touches the fire. Small baby burns itself, feels the pain. Small baby never touches the fire again. So what the record labels and everybody is looking for is the radical mind frame of the small baby before he touches the fire. The one who doesn't care about anything, doesn't overthink everything. Just everything is just raw emotion. And that's what Marshall Mathers was back then. He's a grown man now. He's not in that mental space. It's impossible to recapture that feel. That's what makes it special. That's why they call it a classic. That's exactly what a classic is. So as artists, we don't try to recreate those moments. We just create new ones.
Yeah, well said. Lost art, if you will, I think of the hip-hop albums. Something we don't get as much of that we used to. I was a big fan of our skits. I think of, like, you know, you mentioned Kanye, the College Dropout. That was more comedic skits on that album.
Classic.
It would break up the flow of the record and give you a nice almost commercial break and then back to, you know, back to the music. You've got skits on here. They're not comedic, but they're very meaningful. They're very poignant. One skit I wanted to talk to you about is entitled "Who Are You?" And if I'm not mistaken, you're addressing your father on that skit there, that sort of intermission on the record. Was that something that you got in the booth and you had prepared, or was that you went in there and just spoke your mind?
Yeah, I actually had a dream where I had a conversation with my dad, and he told me that I could ask him anything I wanted. Just don't blink, right? And as soon as I blinked, I was automatically talking to my son. My dad disappeared, and I was automatically talking to my son, and he was asking me questions. So I thought that was really cool to kind of document on the album the decisions of a man as it pertains to how he deals with his child. And then when he's looking at his child in the face, he's ultimately looking his decisions in the face. And then it scales down to the next generation. And then now his child is looking his son in the face. So that's basically what it was. And my son is asking me questions throughout the album, and I'm answering them through song. But this was the first of that series of skits, and that's why we documented it like that. So the first question that my son was asking me on that skit is, who are you? Like, I'm writing this paper on this person that I'm inspired by, and it's you. But how am I supposed to write a paper on my dad and I don't even know who he is? Like, this music business is pretty much taking you away from us for most of my life. You've been around, but just in a disciplinary kind of atmosphere.
Yeah.
So who are you? Tell me who you are. And that's where it came from.
It's one of the most poignant moments on the album. And as much as there are these sort of introspective, poignant tracks on the album, there's also some bangers. And I want to talk about one that really, fire. Summer on Lock. Yeah, and this is I love that this comes out on Friday, by the way. This is like May 4th. It's the perfect time. It's getting warm in the city. You got Fabulous on here. You got Jadakiss, and you got Pusha T on there. How did you get everyone? When I see a track like that and it is so star-studded, I'm always so fascinated on how it came together because there are so many moving parts, people's schedules and whatnot. So how did that song come about?
That was one of those songs that when you decide to pick people who travel like that and pick people who are busy like that, you're almost forced to email files back and forth. So that was one of those situations where it was a roll of the dice. It could have came out good. It could have came out sounding forced. By the grace of God, it came out sounding nice, organic, and cool. So I basically, it was really simple. I just reached out to everybody in particular, individually, and just asked them to get on the song. As soon as I got Kiss verse, I sent it to Fab to get him excited. You know what I'm saying? Like, Fab heard Kiss verse, that made him want to go in. And I also got Agent Sasco on there. He's a really dope reggae artist. I got him on there as well. And I had to send the file to Jamaica for him. And King Push was actually supposed to rap on it. He's just doing the hook, but he was supposed to do a verse on it. But he lost a close friend. I don't know if you guys remember Ice from Def Jam, but they lost him, and that was around that time. So he was just like, yo, man, I'm just kind of like tapped out right now. I said, bro, don't worry about it. You did the hook. I appreciate that. Everything came together sounding great. So shout out to them.
Yeah, it's a really amazing track on here. Hip-hop is such a largely individual sport. And I think of it as a sport because it's a very competitive, for a genre of music, it's a very competitive, vibe of music. But you are somebody that actually has been a part of multiple groups, you know, from Slaughterhouse to Bad Meets Evil. How do you think, looking back now, that being a part of a collective has affected your artistic development?
It's developed me tremendously. I got in Slaughterhouse and I realized that I wasn't as good of a lyricist as I thought I was.
Who taught you that, you think?
Crooked Eye Joe Budden and Joel Ortiz.
Yeah. All three.
Having to rap with those guys.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, it's like I learned so much from Joe. I pulled from Joe like the ability to be more introspective. Like, he's somebody who goes introspective like every single time that he goes in the booth, and I admired that about him. When I first got into the game, that wasn't really something that I wanted to do. Like, I came right out of the open mics, and I went straight into the music, and my main goal was always to just kill MCs and get the respect of my peers. So that's basically the base of my style. You know, and then Joel was doing the same thing, but he had a little bit of a mixture of battle MC in there. And Crook is just a lyrical maniac. You know what I mean? Like, he's the hitman of the crew. Like, his job is to kill the song every single time. You know, like, in that mixture, like, in the way that everything just kind of fell together, it was just like, yo, okay, I see, number one, it's not my job to have the best verse on the song, not being in a group with guys like these. And then, you know, getting back cool with Marshall, being around Marshall, you know, he obviously was on a whole nother lyrical level once we started talking. You know, that was inspirational in itself. Being around DJ Premier, even though he's not a rapper, just the conversation and the way that we connect, and some of the things that I learned from him just in terms of mixing and all of the other technical parts that goes into making albums. You know, like, I pulled so much from so many genius people that I feel like I can go in now, you know, without any help from a producer or any help from an engineer or anything, and just kind of do everything myself. Yeah. And that's always where I wanted to be.
And it's funny, you were saying that recently, not to cut you off, but you were like, I never thought of myself as a producer, but you're like, no, I'm actually I'm pretty dope producer.
I've been producing and just didn't know I was producing.
Exactly.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. So arrangement is my thing. I love arranging vocals. I love having vocalists come in, sing things, tell them how to arrange it. I like writing, you know, melodic vocals for people to sing. I like singing them myself. I like attempting to sing them myself. You know, some ranges I can do, some I can't, but that's the fun part, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, yeah, I have fun in there.
Absolutely. So I put up a thing on Reddit saying I'm going to talk to Royce tomorrow. You can ask Royce anything you want, right?
Okay.
So I like to hand it over to the fans as much as I can, right, when we have artists as big as you here. And so I've got 5 questions to put you on the spot.
Okay.
Quick hitters. Are you down?
I'm down.
All right. It's time to put Royce to 5'9" on the spot.
Uh-oh. Oh, man.
Now you know it's real. All right. Question number 1 on the spot, Royce. What is the status of the long-rumored Black Thought and Royce joint album?
Oh, that's not too bad.
They get worse.
We're working on it. All I can say is Black Thought is very busy. And when you're a lyrical demigod, you are busy often. So Black Thought is very busy. I will say that there are a lot of ideas that exist. I've sent him a lot of ideas. He sent me a lot of ideas. We got a lot of stuff, but we're kind of taking our time on it. We feel like it's no rush, you know, and it will see the light of day. You will hear it.
Is there at least one finished track right now?
There's plenty of finished tracks. Plenty. Right.
What is the bar you are proudest of?
The bar that I'm proudest of. On this album, I like the simplicity of saying, you number one when it comes to slaughtering mics. I'm trying to be number one in my son and daughter's life. Like, everybody associates my name with, like, super lyrical, rapidy rap, but it's lines like that that resonate with me the most.
I feel like that could almost be the thesis of Book of Ryan.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite or proudest bar for your career?
There's a lot of them, you know.
What comes to
humbly,
mind?
Humbly. I always draw a blank when I got to try to think of, like, raps and stuff.
We're putting you on the spot.
I'll say that one. Say that one.
Right
I mean, it applies to me most where I am today.
Yeah.
And it's like I'm really proud of what I've become, especially in this business. I've done most of my developing within the music business. I got into the game when I was 19 years old. Like I said, my son graduated high school, went to college. I got 3 little girls now. You know, they all call me daddy. They all know who I am. They all see me. They all live with me. I'm still with my wife. She didn't leave me. Like, you know, life could be way worse as a rapper, man. I'll tell you that.
Absolutely. You can almost say that it took all these years to write that bar.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
All right, what is Eminem's worst song?
Eminem's worst song, okay, his worst song is also the best song ever, if that makes any sense.
Oh, what is his worst song?
I'm telling you.
What is his worst song?
It's a song called Fact. Have you guys heard Fact? You heard Fact? Is it not the best, worst shit you ever heard in your life? Yes, you got to play. If you have Fact, you have to play at least a piece of it.
Is there a worst Eminem song?
Nah, Fact is the worst. It doesn't get any. It
All
doesn't
right.
get any worse than that, bro.
Fact. Who is the best up and coming MC in Detroit right now?
Up and coming in Detroit, I'd have to say Kid Vicious, Travis Chandler.
Okay. And then what would it take from Joe Budden to resolve the situation between you and him right now?
Well, there's not a situation between me and him.
There is a disagreement, though.
Yes, we do disagree, but it's not a problem. You know,
No.
it's just this happens in business all the time. It just so happens that it's kind of happening in front of people, but you know, people disagree in the boardroom all the time, and it's one of those situations where I don't want to try to coerce him into doing business how I do business. I want him to continue to do whatever makes him feel comfortable, however he feels like doing business, and I'm gonna certainly continue to do the same. It just doesn't always match up. Like right now, the way he does business, the way that he wants to do business, his vision for Slaughterhouse is a little bit different from my vision for Slaughterhouse, and it doesn't really align with the situation that we're in with Shady and everything like that. So, I mean, we just kind of like at a stalemate. It just is what it is.
What about the disagreement over his comments about Revival?
I mean, yeah, that's a disagreement, and that's pretty much where it stops. You know, that again, that's not a situation where I'm trying to get him to change his mind or anything like that. I just wanted him to see my picture as far as what I was trying to paint is the verbiage that he was using. You know, I felt like he went too far as like what he said. As far as him not liking the album, he's entitled to his opinion. I think everybody feels like that.
Right. Royce, we put you on the spot. You did great, man.
Thank you.
Right on. Now we have all these wonderful people in the crowd today. Let's get to some of their questions. First one's going to come right here.
Hi, I always wanted to tell you My Own Planet is one of my favorite songs of yours.
Thank you, man.
And I wanted to ask, being in the relationship you have with Eminem, what is your favorite moment that you've had with him, and what is some of the best music advice that he's given you thus far?
Favorite moment? Let me see. Musical advice. Musical advice is just advice, period. Yeah. When I got sober, when I decided to get sober, not to keep going super deep on you, but when I decided to get sober, he was like one of the first people I called because we were sitting in the studio one day, just having a conversation off topic, and he just came out of nowhere and was like, you know, if you ever feel like you got a problem, you can call me, right? And the shit kind of like it stuck with me, you know what I'm saying? Because I didn't know if he was like trying to subliminally tell me that he thought that I had a problem. I certainly felt like I was going out of my way to kind of make sure I wasn't like drinking around him a lot because I knew he was actively pursuing sobriety. So that kind of stuck with me. It was a couple comments my wife made that kind of stuck with me that kind of prompted my decision overall to just decide to stop. So he was one of the first. He was actually the first person that I called. And he told me, he said, listen, I want you to know something. I said, this is the strongest that you've ever been. He said, you finally admitting that you're powerless over this. He said, what we do as addicts most of the time is we feel like it's a weakness by admitting that we can't stop on our own. He was like, but you finally admitting it, and now you're strong. He said, come home. You know what I'm saying? And I've been talking to him about it ever since, and I ain't had a drink ever since. So it's like everything surrounding that is the most powerful thing you could ever do for a person. Help them get better. All right?
Great question, man. We got time for a couple more. Let's go right here.
I just want to ask you about your career a little bit, and having put music out for a better part of 20 years, it's all really lyrical and dense, and just like, how do you continue to come up with new material? Like, how do you not run out of stuff to say?
You know what, man? Sometimes as a creative, I feel like, damn, did I run out? I don't know. You know what I mean? Like with me, like I think one of the reasons why I'm able to keep releasing stuff that sounds sharp is because I record a lot of music. At first, I used to go in, like when I was younger and didn't have as much of the hustle, and I was allowing myself to be distracted by a lot of shit. I used to just go in like, I'm gonna go to the studio from this time to this time, and whatever I come up with should be great. You know what I mean? And I'm gonna put that out. Now I spend all the time I need in there. I record a lot of bad stuff. I record a lot of good stuff, and I just pick the best stuff and put it out. I don't limit myself. You know, I try not to overthink it. You know, if I think something and I have an idea, I usually lay it down, even if I'm unsure about it. I usually lay it down first and listen to it, take it home. Listen to it with different ears another day, listen to it with a different perspective another week, and just give myself time to just make the proper decision. But I stay patient. I let my brain just be my brain. I don't worry about coming up with it fast or slow. You know what I mean?
Great question, too. We have time for one more studio audience question.
So you've been at this for a while, and I wonder, was music always the path that you knew you wanted to be on, or was there a time in your life when it switched from something you liked to do to something you had to do?
Fun fact about Royce the 5'9". I thought I was going to the NBA. Yes. Thought I was going to the NBA. If you put a basketball hoop in here right now, you would never know because I suck at basketball now. But back then, it was like, that was like my dream. That was my passion. You know, I came from a really, really athletic family. I played basketball and I boxed. So I was into sports the better part of my whole childhood and high school. Once I hit about 11th grade, I started really, because before I was like mimicking other rappers. I was really good at like rapping Redman shit. E40, Bring the Yellow Tape was like one of my favorite songs, and I was real good at being able to rap it exactly. You know, so when I started writing my own stuff, it took me a while to find myself within it. And I was okay. I thought I was okay, but when I met Marshall thought I was like incredible. I thought I was just okay. And before I could really develop, he threw me into the business. And I've been developing ever since. So a lot of people be like, yo, man, like at your age, how does it seem like you keep getting better? It's because I was a late bloomer. I wasn't like rapping at like 11 years old, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, you also grew up on those classic Pistons teams, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that had
Bad Boys.
influenced it a
The
little.
Bad
Yeah,
Boys.
the Bad
The
Boys,
Bad
man.
Boys. Isaiah Thomas, I had a ball. I had a basketball signed by Isaiah Thomas. That was like my prized possession.
Yo.
Prized possession.
Rodman was on those teams?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those are classics.
Rodman beat up Jordan.
Yeah, he did.
He beat up Jordan every time he took it to the hole, he beat him up.
That's awesome. Thank you for the question, too. Well, we're out of time, unfortunately. But again, Friday, man.
Thank you, sir.
Big day for you. Book
Appreciate
Orion.
you.
It's out and
Appreciate
available
you.
everywhere.
Thank you, guys.
If you want to check out Royce on the road, he's got some live dates coming up.
Yeah.
Early June, late May. Thanks for watching.